So when I was in Hawaii, I came across this food truck that sold these onigiri-looking musubis. I'll put a link to that video right here. But they not only sold delicious musubis, they also had this iced lemon ginger tea. From the first sip, I was hooked. Whether it be the perfect balance of lemon, ginger, and sweetness, or just having a cold drink on a hot day, I knew I had discovered something amazing. So fast forward to not too long ago while I was scrolling through the YouTube wormhole I was sucked into, and I stumbled across a video on how to make lemon ginger tea. So after watching the video over and over again, I finally ended up with this. What you're gonna see next is the documentation of me going through the process of making it. I hope to inspire some of y'all, if you dare, to make it too, or even follow along with me making this drink. Of course, I advise you to watch to the end if you do end up making it, to see some of the things that I would have done differently. Also, keep in mind that this isn't a tutorial, but rather me trying out this recipe and me documenting it. If you do want to see those videos I followed, I'll link to those videos in the description below. So without further ado, let's make some lemon ginger tea. So let's start off with showing the materials that I used. So of course we got the lemons and ginger, and these are your regular old lemons and ginger, nothing organic or anything. But I do recommend getting organic lemons if you can, because I think that'll shave off a bunch of prep time. So next we have the coarse sea salt, vinegar, and baking soda. These are going to be used for cleaning the lemons. Next we have the honey in the honey lemon ginger tea. And lastly, I'm going to be using this big, deep glass bowl, this smaller, shallower one, and this tall mason jar. I think it's 32 ounces. If you end up making this, I think you could just use any jars that you have available. Alright, let's start making it. Like I said before, if you want a step-by-step tutorial on how to make this, the link to that video that I followed will be in the description. Okay, so I took my ginger and lemons, removed the stickers, and left all of them, except the lemons, in water to soak. Next, I continued to follow the tutorial and took some salt and scrubbed these lemons down. So apparently the reason I was supposed to do this, if I'm not mistaken, is to scrub the pesticides off these lemons so that none of that nasty stuff will be marinating with the lemons and ginger later on. So I literally rinsed and repeated with baking soda. I guess this is just to be extra safe and clean. After that, I went and let the lemons soak in some water. And while that was happening, I went and cleaned up this big mess I made all over my family's dinner table. Next, I dumped all this grossness and filled up the bowl with some more water, and this time adding some vinegar. At this point, I really don't have an idea what this stuff does to the lemons, but my guess is that the vinegar kills the germs and bacteria. I let that sit for a bit and let all that cleaning stuff happen. And if you're making this with me, just be patient and let it happen, just let life happen. Don't worry about too much, you're gonna come back for it later, and it's not really going anywhere, okay? Unless you have someone in your house that's really obsessed with lemons, they come across your lemons marinating, and they do what they always do and take the lemons and use it for things that you actually need, like bar soap, scented candles, and essential oils, and you end up using them and realize that you have allergy to lemons, and you get really scared, so you go to your mom and she confirms you that you actually don't have a lemon allergy, and so you get super relieved and go back to taking a shower. And this is getting really weird, I don't know where this video is going. Haha, okay, I'm gonna stop talking about this now. Okay, so next was probably the most labor-intensive and time-consuming part of this whole process. Peeling the ginger. So at first I started off with using your standard peeler, but I later found out that I could just use a spoon. I don't want to say that using the spoon is way easier than using the peeler, but if anything, it was a bit faster than using the peeler. And I think that just knowing that the spoon can do just as good as the normal peeler is pretty cool. So as you can see, I used the water to kind of just catch all the peelings, and I think that kind of helped, but I feel that just doing this over the trash can or over a napkin might just get similar, if not the same results. The only difference I could see is that you could wash off the leftover peelings that are stuck on the ginger. If you could see it, I didn't really peel the ginger perfectly, but it was good enough. Now onto the part which was most fun for me, in my opinion at least. Cutting everything and putting them into the jars. So this part was pretty self-explanatory, which is cutting everything up and keeping them in separate bowls so that I could just choose and gauge how much lemon and ginger I put in each jar, as you can see right now. And also, one important thing to do at this point that I didn't do enough, I think, was making sure that you remove as many seeds out of the lemons as you possibly can. The lemon's seeds have this bitter flavor if you get them into the tea, so make sure you try your best to get as many as you can out, especially if you hate bitter flavors. But even if you don't get all the seeds out, I think the tea will come out good. So next is squeezing in as much honey as I can to get everything coated. Also, it may not look like you need to put a lot of honey because it looks like most of the jars filled up with the lemon and ginger, but there's a lot more honey that was needed to really cover everything than I thought. Like, I think even Winnie the Pooh would love this tea, that's how much honey is in here. So make sure you have a big bottle of honey before making this. So I can't exactly remember why I put plastic wrap over the top before sealing it, but I think it was to make sure that it wouldn't spill out or something like that. So after sealing it, I turned the jars over on its head, which maybe helps everything get coated a little bit more? I don't really know. Then I left them to marinate for 3 days in all its gingery, lemony, lemony, that kind of sounds like a name, and honey flavors. So 3 days later, this is what my jar of lemony gingeriness looked like. Not much of a difference, but when I opened it up, I noticed a very big difference in the consistency of the honey. The liquid actually turned out to be really watery in the end, and that's exactly what I saw in the video that I followed. So at this point, at least I saw some good signs that this turned out well. And after tasting it, it did. I could taste the sweetness from the honey, the tart sourness from the lemon, and the slight hint of ginger. And overall, I think it came out really well. Alright, let's get into some things that I would do differently. So after drinking quite a bit of the tea, I noticed that it was a bit bitter. Like I mentioned earlier, you gotta make sure that you remove as much of the seeds from the lemons as you can, or else the tea is gonna taste a bit bitter. And I found out that I actually didn't remove enough of the seeds from the lemons. So I recommend spending a bit more time removing all of the seeds from the lemons if you hate that unpleasant bitter flavor. But in the end, even though I didn't remove all the seeds from mine, it didn't turn out too bad, and it still came out pretty delicious. And I think if you did the same, your tea won't be ruined either. Another thing that I would change, I don't know exactly how I would do this, but I would try to put more ginger into the tea. Because I noticed that the tea had a strong lemony flavor. There's that word again, lemony. Okay, anyways, I think the ginger took a little bit of a backseat here, so however I would do it, I would get some more of that ginger flavor in the tea. You might be asking if you really have to go through that whole process of washing and cleaning the lemons. And I don't really know all the info on this stuff, so definitely go and check the original video for some Q&A from the creator of the video. I think that if you lived in South Korea, then you'd probably want to go through that process because apparently there are these chemicals and pesticides on the lemons that are imported to South Korea that you want to wash off. Because of that, I'm assuming that if you get organic lemons, then maybe you don't have to clean them. I don't know, you can go and do your own research if you want to be safe. I just followed the video and cleaned them anyway. There's also one more thing I wanted to mention. If you watched the original video, you probably saw that the person went through the process of boiling his jars. I personally didn't do that, but I assumed that it was to have their jars completely clean. But I didn't do that because I honestly just didn't want to do it. Probably because I was just too lazy. But y'all can definitely do that if you want to. Just know that I didn't think it was completely necessary to do, in my opinion. So good. I mean, this isn't the lemon ginger tea, but water is good, isn't it? So anyways, guys, I just want to thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. The lemon ginger tea came out really well, and it was pretty fun to make. I also encourage you guys to go out and try making this tea. It's pretty easy, and I think y'all probably have most of the ingredients that you need to make this at home. And also, don't forget to check out the original video that I followed so y'all can correctly follow along to that video instead of me. So with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching to the end of this video. God bless, and see y'all next time. Peace.